You are sitting in your driveway with the engine off, and you dread to go into the house because you don't have any energy to go inside. You are winning in the boardroom and your team is killing it. But behind closed doors, your constant self-monitoring is draining your brain power and killing your decision making. It's time to stop trading your peace for position, and it's time to embrace femininity leadership.
Welcome to the LeadHerSuite Podcast, hosted by Karlyn D. Henderson. The LeadHerSuite Podcast serves as a champion experience for high-achieving executive women, helping her navigate the complexities of leadership and conquer internal and external, female-specific challenges to become a confident and influential leader aligned with God's design in femininity leadership. If you are ready to break free from self-monitoring, burnout, and broken beliefs to move towards sustainable femininity leadership, then you are in the right space. And now, here's your host, Karlyn D. Henderson.
We're sitting in that driveway again. The engine is, of course, off. The house lights are on, but you can't go in just quite yet. You are sitting in the dark because it is the only place where you are not the mom, the daughter, the boss, the wife, or the best friend. Your jaw has been tight all day and you are just realizing it hurts. Your heart is still racing from that 4 p.m. meeting. You know that one. You had the perfect strategy, but before you spoke, you did that thing you always do. You ran the internal calculus in your brain. You asked yourself, how is this going to land? How is this going to be received? Am I going to be too firm? Am I going to be too direct? And of course, you hesitate. You soften your delivery to fit the corporate mold, and in that split second, your brain glitched. Can you relate? Hi, I am Karlyn D. Henderson, and I welcome you to the LeadHerSuite Podcast, a podcast for executive women who are ready to break free from that self-monitoring, that burnout, identity erosion, and those brutal beliefs and scripts that you run through your head continuously. These women are ready to embrace femininity leadership. Femininity leadership is not about being soft, but it is about you being that woman who is ready to sit at the table and have the room to lead. Whether you are that woman who is the first female to break through in the room, that only female in the room, or the highest ranking female in the room, this podcast is designed specifically for you. I heard an executive female leader share with me, reading the room faster than the room reads me is a useful skill, but it is an expensive habit. Maybe you can relate to this. I need you to know that you are not losing your mind. You are just exhausted from the invisible labor of constantly self-monitoring yourself, self-guessing, second-guessing, and the limited room to be yourself. If you feel like you are holding your department, your division, your nonprofit, your small business together with Scotch tape and sheer willpower, then you are in the right place today. Today's podcast is about the high cost of self-monitoring. It is killing your decision making. Let's look at the data. 86% of women executive leaders work harder than their peers just to be seen as competent. Major studies show that the broken rung on that corporate ladder for women in leadership, where men are more likely to be promoted based upon their perceived future ability. While you, as a woman leader, you are seen as to having to continually prove yourself, continually prove your past results over and over and over again while you are sitting at that same table. Specifically for women of color, this burden is even heavier. You are performing advanced leadership competencies in basic rooms, managing the strategy of the company while all at the same time managing your emotional temperature of everyone else to survive microaggressions and tone policing. Yes, you are constantly balancing your tone, your word, your competencies under what I call that magnifying glass. You're constantly being examined and watched, and you have literally zero margin for error. And I know because I've been in that role of executive leader, and it's like the slightest mistake, your head is just bitten off in the next meeting with the board of directors or even the CEO. Or maybe you're in that position of having your own business, and the company that has hired you, they are just ripping you apart. Like, are you really qualified for this position? To take on this role within our organization? Yes, I do. I understand. As you are balancing all of this, it's just annoying and it's frustrating while you're spending your energy managing your team or other people's comfort and their slim expectations of you being competent to complete the task that you were hired to do. And it's draining your mental capacity and even your physical vigor. And then, of course, you still have to make those high level decisions and start reacting to all of the noise that goes on. So let me share with you what is going on in your brain, because your brain is competing with several jobs at once. Number one, the shift from visionary to reactive. You used to be able to have a vision, and you wanted this vision for your organization or your nonprofit or your division within the organization. But you are consistently balancing, creating those tunnel visions, forcing you to solve immediate problems rather than focusing on high level strategy. You move from being the driver, the visionary driver of growth, but then you become the operational bottleneck because you are stuck in reactive survival mode. Instead of looking at long term vision, your mental energy is consumed by reading the room instead of leading in the room. And you're also managing others' comforts and expectations. Number two, severe decision fatigue. Yes, you are exhausted mentally. The internal balancing of the tone and the perception constantly you're asking yourself, how is this going to land? How is this going to be perceived? And can I make the presentation? All of those things are just draining your mental fuel before you can even get the final word out in your presentation or your project or whatever that initiative is. You find yourself paralyzed by doing the simple task of opening up an email and responding to your client at the end of the day. And it's exhausting. This creates a slug in your mind, and your productivity declines. Your team productivity declines. And then, of course, this impacts profit. Another thing that impacts your brain is number three, increased risk. Operating under a consistently scrutiny always rips your resilience, and it impacts how you think and how you calculate risk. Sometimes you're thinking like, okay, maybe should I go for it? Should I not go for it? Should I go for it? Should I not go for it? And this is exhausting. And so in order for you to protect your leadership position and your influence, and your impact, you begin to become defensive. You second guess yourself, and then you avoid the pushback. In other words, you stop sharing bold ideas just to stay out of the line of fire. And I know that all so much when you're just sitting in the meeting in a boardroom and you're like, okay, I have to present my department's meeting and minutes, and it's just overwhelming because you know that you're going to be hit time after time after time. And this is exhausting. And even in my previous podcast, I mentioned about the glitch, or sometimes people call it the brain fog. This is, of course, when your nervous system is crushed and that invisible labor is constantly impacting you, where you're code switching. You say this and your tone and you're self-filtering. Should I use this word or that word? And all of these things are a split second. And that glitch happens while you're trying to figure out how is this going to land and how is this going to make an impact. And you end up stuttering. You hesitate, you stammer, or you just simply freeze at high stake meetings where you know you rehearsed this over and over again and you present it and you're ready to go. But that glitch happens and you go offline because processing is too much in an environment where friction is the norm. Finally, the fifth thing that impacts your thinking and your decision making is failing to trust yourself. This when I'm dealing with women and even in myself, I'm like, okay, I know I have the competencies. I know I have the skill set. I can trust myself to go boldly and do the things that I'm supposed to do in this role. But because there is a consistent need to translate your excellence, you're failing. Not because you're incompetent, because you're just mentally fatigued. Even your compassion to encourage your team to go to the next level and your tolerance is just on edge. And this is an erosion of your identity, of who you are and what your roles are. And they become mesh where you're thinking you and your identity is in being the leader. Your identity is being the CEO or being the nonprofit director, the executive director. And over time, you stop trusting your own gifts, your own talents, your authority, and you begin to self sabotage, where you decline profile assignments. Maybe that client that we're having this $500,000 project that you know you've been working for so long, and you're thinking, I just may not be able to do that right now. And so you don't handle the visibility of being yourself. The high cost of self monitoring, it is killing your decision making. You are depleted of brain power, and this means your organization and your team are paying the premium price of your leadership or even the absence of your leadership. And you're only operating at a fraction of who you really are because you are brilliant, you are excellent, you are in demand to do excellent things. But because of all of these external forces and even the internal forces that are going on in your own self, they're just robbing you. I can imagine, 'cause I've been there too, the internal conversations that you may say to yourself. And I want to share some of the thoughts and conversations of executive women and what they have shared. First quote: it can feel incredibly isolating, especially when these dynamics go unnamed. This is truly and will always be adding and adding, and I'm operating in a hypersensitive global market. The constant collaboration is failing and it is draining my energy. Over time, it pulls focus away from the work itself because it is exhausting. Another woman said, the tension between clarity and how it is perceived feels painfully familiar across many cultures. Yes, that is so true because it is not just one race or ethnic group. Many women, regardless of their ethnicity, are dealing with the same struggles and challenges. And I must share with you, it's not just at the executive level, but it's at the senior director level. It is at that senior manager level, and even sometime on the front line. Women at every level of the organization are dealing with these type of tensions and stress because they're constantly self-monitoring and it is killing their decision making. Here's one last quote from another woman leader. I've been labeled as intimidating because of my confidence in workspaces. I feel that I was expected to tone things down or dim my light to be more acceptable. The problem is not my words, but being a dark skinned, plus size, confident woman who has the combination and doing the best and working at excellence is intimidating to others. And so I have been told to stay in my place. And they emphasize how they felt when I expressed my confidence. The problem stems not from my confidence, but their personal insecurities. Can you relate to that? I know I can. And regardless of where you are, you probably in your career or in your business, you can relate to these things. These statements ring true in every arena and every industry. And specifically, which I have worked in the consumer beverage industry, being a woman of color and the only woman in the room, it has been definitely overwhelming. No doubt you're waking up at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., spinning, your heart is racing, and you're like, yeah, we've got to get ready for that meeting tomorrow. And it's just overwhelming. And it is robbing you of your health and your peace and your identity of who you are and what you are called to do and to be excellent. Do you relate? Do you understand? If you can, send back some feedback if you've gotten this far in this podcast. It's not about this being part of your job, but it is, unfortunately, it is part of your job. And at the end of the day, as I mentioned at the top of the podcast, you get home and you just want peace. You don't want to be a wife, you don't want to be a mother, you want to be a daughter if you're taking care of a senior parent. It's just, you just want to rest and you're so tired that you can't even fall asleep because you're worried about the next day and the adrenaline is constantly pumping and pumping and pumping. You aren't going to lose your edge, my friend, my sister. You just are tired of staying quiet and adjusting to everyone else and not being able to have the confidence to be you. And that weight is heavy. And you were not built for that. You are not built for the weight of the corporate mold or the magnifying glass that is constantly, hovering over you and watching you making a mistake or all of the other things. You self-monitoring yourself. And I want to encourage you, it's time for change. It's actually time for recovery. True leadership, as I'm sure you know, is not about how much you can suffer. It is, however, about you sustaining who you are in your femininity. You see, I hear some people say that, oh, well, we can be aggressive and we can do this. I don't believe, and I know that God did not create us to be exhausted. We can be leaders. We can know how to communicate. We can know how to build strategy. We have the competencies to do and operate in excellence. The challenge is, which I'm finding with women who are in executive roles or senior director role, is that they are trying to embrace this male-centric leadership. And we're not built for it. We can't handle that. We have to move from doing to being feminine. Still can be a leader, but we have to move out of what has been built for men and start embracing what has been built for women in that leadership role. Let me put it another way. You need to shift from what you have been doing as owner of every outcome and trying to take responsibility of that, and then begin to move to a place of stewardship of the vision. When you carry the weight of honor, you break. I call it the quiet crack. You are cracking under the pressure that was not meant for you to carry. But when you act as a steward, you can breathe in alignment to what God has for you. Hear this, my sister. Hear this, woman leader. Hear this. You are not in the seat of leadership by accident. You are not at that table by accident. It has been a divine assignment for you to be where you are for such a time as this. But understand, you are not meant to carry all of this. You are only meant to carry the glory of God because you have been created in His image. With the right safety and compassion and the right strategy, you can be aligned to the femininity leadership of what God ordained for you to operate in. Imagine leading from a mental and physical space where you are worth and you walk in your worth, and it isn't about the outcome, but better yet, it is about imagining and leading from a safe space where you can breathe and you can align and you can recoup and you can refill and you can restore. Here's the goal. You need to shift in your thinking at the end of the day while you're sitting in your car and you're waiting to go into the house before you take on another role. The goal is to shift from, did I do enough today? Because it is not about performance, but it is about you transforming in the space of where you are to ask the question, did I lead well today? That, my sister, that, my friend, that woman leader is about alignment. Femininity leaders, you have held it together for everyone else long enough. It is time for you to prioritize you. That is not a sin. You don't need another leadership workshop. Trust me, I know. You don't need another conference. You don't need another certification. You don't need another degree. What you need is alignment. And I know you as an executive leader, because I've been there too, you know it is beyond the money and the fame and the influence and the power. Because those things do not bring fulfillment and they truly are not about alignment. Instead, it is about your motivations, your call, so that you can be anchored in growth, purpose, and freedom, holding a space where your life is allowed to be prioritized, where your health is allowed to be prioritized, your family and your personal passions without guilt, fear, and shame. It is about making a difference and discovering how you can use your success to change and support the landscape for others through the legacy that you are going to live. And I want to serve you to help you to do just that. Because I understand how expectations of others can sometimes make you feel like that you are not doing enough and you're not enough and you're not successful and you're not women. And all of these are a lie. So I want to personally invite you to an executive women leadership alignment audit. It should take you no more than 10 minutes to fill out. And it is absolutely complimentary to you if you are interested. Now, I know you don't want to do another to-do list. I understand that. But if you want to be in a place where you can learn how to move beyond performing and stop doing and just be and operate in the excellence of what you know you can do, if you want to be in a place where there is a safe haven, where you're not pressured to do and to be manipulated, then I want to be and help you to just begin to tap into the tip of the iceberg, if you will, to find out How do you begin to walk in this divine alignment of femininity leadership? Send me a DM or respond to this podcast, and I would love to work with you. Don't wait until that quiet crack keeps killing your decision making, because it's impacting not only your workplace or your business or your nonprofit, it's impacting your house and your relationships outside of your career. It's time to move from just that self-monitoring and trying to balance and then the burnout and the broken beliefs and the brutal scripts that you tell yourself over and over and over again. It is time to embrace femininity leadership, where you can start working in your divine purpose and leave a legacy for maybe your daughters, even your sons, and for the next generation. Until next time, I am Karlyn D. Henderson. I am the host of the LeadHerSuite Podcast. It has been my privilege and my pleasure to share with you today. Until next time, goodbye.
Thank you for watching another episode of the LeadHerSuite Podcast with Karlyn D. Henderson. If you are a high-achieving executive woman who is ready to break free from self-monitoring, burnout, and broken beliefs all the while moving towards sustainable femininity leadership, contact Ms. Henderson at Poimena Consulting or High Yield Academy.